Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a life where waiting in line, that's just not a thing for you. Every door just swings open. Respect. It's just given
Hmm.
automatically.
Hmm.
Picture, swift justice happening on your terms. You've got this charisma, this presence. You walk into a room, you own it. Sounds pretty intoxicating,
It
really.
really does.
Well, today, we're doing a deep dive into one of the most iconic films ever. It explores exactly that life and then, bam, rips it all back to show the brutal, inescapable reality underneath. Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas.
Yeah. And what makes this dive so interesting, I think, is that it's not just, a made-up story. We're digging into a cinematic masterpiece that's really rooted in truth. It's based directly on Nicholas Pileggi's nonfiction book, Wise Guy.
Right, the real deal.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
book and then the film that really lay out the actual life of this mob associate,
Right.
Henry Hill. And the cast, I mean, incredible. Ray Liotta as Henry, Robert De Niro playing Jimmy Conway, so cold, so calculating, and Joe Pesci as Tommy DeVito. Just explosive. So our mission today really is to dissect how Goodfellas shows you that seductive rise.
That pull.
That pull, yeah. And then, well, the tragic, inevitable fall, the crash. We want to pull out the key insights, maybe some surprising facts from the source material, and look at not just what happens, but why it matters. What it tells us about, us, human nature, and how the film kind of makes you feel the allure before hitting you with the cost.
It's amazing how it grabs you from the start. That opening line, Ray Liotta's voiceover hits you. As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. Boom, you're in.
Instantly.
Yeah.
You get the motivation right there. It's not like you fell into it by accident. It's a deep desire, almost like a childhood dream, bizarrely enough. You see young Henry, right? 1950s Brooklyn working class kid, and he's not just vaguely aware of the mob guys on the corner, he's totally captivated, just enamored with the glamour, the power they have, the fact that they seem to get away with everything.
It's a different world. Completely different from the everyday grind everyone else is in. He sees the flashy cars, the sharp suits, people whispering respectfully, moving out of their way. It's not just cash, it's a whole feeling. It screams, I'm somebody.
That's the hook, isn't it? It's like a shortcut to being important.
Yeah.
And what's really fascinating is how fast those early dreams turn into real benefits, real lessons for him. He starts working for Paulie Cicero.
Paul Sorvino, brilliant.
Just perfect casting. Paulie runs the local Lucchese family crew. Henry starts small parking cars, running errands, getting coffee. Basic stuff.
Yeah.
But that's his way in. And the immediate perks for a teenager, pretty amazing. He drops out of school.
Then nothing happens.
Basically, yeah. It's like the mob provides a protective bubble. He avoids all the usual trouble a kid would get into for that. There's this immediate sense of, immunity, being above the rules. That must have felt incredible for a young guy. Liberating, almost.
So not just the flash, but this feeling of being untouchable right from the start. He's outside the normal system, but somehow more powerful within his own little world.
Exactly. And inside that bubble, he quickly learns the rules, what the book Wise Guy calls the rules of the street. And these aren't just suggestions. They're essential for survival, for moving up. Number one, loyalty.
Right, never rat.
Never, ever turn on your friends, especially not to the cops.
Yeah.
Betraying an associate, that's the worst thing you can do. Then there's silence. Omerta. You just don't talk.
Yeah.
Ever. To the authorities. Anyway, no matter what. And finally, respect. It wasn't just about being polite. It was like the currency of their world.
Yeah, how you measured up.
It determined your standing, your safety, everything.
Yeah.
And you demanded it and you gave it. Sometimes brutally if you had to. Paulie himself, he kind of embodies that old school way. Quiet guy. But his power comes from sticking to those rules.
Yeah.
Henry just soaks it all up. He sees how these rules work, how they create this weird sense of order in all the chaos.
It really shows the mob as this alternative society, its own rules, its own rewards. You can see why a kid like Henry, feeling like an outsider maybe, would be pulled right into that. And the film shows him getting those rewards early on anyway.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He climbs the ladder really fast, goes from errand boy to being part of Paulie's inner circle.
Yeah.
And the lifestyle, it delivers.
Yeah.
Big time. He's making money, like serious money, way more than any regular job. He's got the expensive suits. He's in the cool nightclubs, walking straight past the line. Always the best table.
That Copa scene.
Iconic. And maybe the biggest thing for a young guy like him. Respect. Real neighborhood respect. He's got this swagger,
Right.
something he probably couldn't get any other way at his age. It's not just crime. It's a total identity shift. Status, freedom, this feeling of being totally in control. He's living the dream, or, well, a certain kind of dream.
That feeling of power, of access, must be incredibly addictive.
Utterly seductive. And it's around this time he meets the two guys who really define his mob life. Almost like the good and bad angels on his shoulders, except maybe both are bad angels.
Uh-huh. Yeah, maybe.
First, Jimmy Conway. Robert De Niro. Just masterful. Jimmy's this experienced, really charismatic Irish-American gangster. He plans the big jogs, but he's also the guy who tips big, you know? Seems like a contradiction, ruthless criminal, but generous personally.
He's got that quiet intensity.
Right, the magnetism makes him dangerous, but also kind of admirable in a twisted way. He's smart, strategic, the planner, quiet menace.
A very deliberate kind of violence, you mean, which is a huge contrast to the other guy he hooks up with, Tommy DeVito.
Exactly. Then you get Tommy, Joe Pesci, just terrifyingly alive on screen. Tommy is everything Jimmy isn't. He's loud, completely unpredictable, incredibly violent. That short fuse, it's legendary.
Like a grenade with a loose pin.
That's a good way to put it. The contrast between Jimmy's cool calculation and Tommy's impulsive brutality, it's razor sharp. And that dynamic, that's where so much of the film's tension comes from, those sudden shifts, the dark humor. And Henry's our guide, navigating between these two, trying to keep his balance in this crazy, thrilling world.
So you've got Jimmy's brain and Tommy's. Well, Tommy's volatility. Henry's right in the middle. This isn't small stuff anymore, is it? What kind of jobs are they pulling? How does Henry fit into this escalating danger?
Yeah, the stakes go way up. They move beyond petty stuff into serious criminal enterprises together. We see them doing these audacious truck hijackings, grabbing valuable cargo, big robberies, and they get deep into loan sharking, which is just brutal.
Right. Vicious business.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the money, though. Yeah, the money's flowing. It's about building their reputations, flexing their muscles in the underworld, showing everyone who's boss.
Yeah.
And Henry, he's loving the perks.
More than just the cash.
Way more. It's the feeling of belonging, this intense brotherhood, even if it's built on crime. This sense of being powerful, untouchable, it completely seduces him. He's living a life most people can only imagine or maybe have nightmares about. It's a high that money can't really buy.
And the film's brilliant because it doesn't just show Henry getting sucked in. It shows how that allure spreads, especially to Karen, played by Lorraine Bracco. He meets her. She's this Jewish girl from Long Island, totally outside his world initially.
Yeah.
Their relationship is stormy, right?
Oh, yeah. Incredibly rocky. Huge fights, passionate makeups. She's shocked at first, maybe even disgusted by his lifestyle. The violence, the dirty money, the way they just ignore the law.
But she stays.
She does. And the book, Wise Guy, points out that gradually she grows to love the thrill, protection, and money. What does that tell you about how insidious this life is? It doesn't just corrupt the guys doing the crime.
Right. It pulls in the people around them, too.
It's a crucial point. Karen isn't just falling for Henry. She's falling for the life.
Yeah.
The thrill, it's exciting, dangerous, not like normal suburban life. The protection, the idea that Henry and his guys can fix anything, handle any problem, offer safety the cops can't.
A dangerous kind of safety.
Exactly.
Right.
And the money, well, that buys the nice house, the clothes, everything, the signal status. She gets drawn into it, becomes part of it, and it's a big but. Henry's lifestyle, his cheating, his drug use later on, the constant crime, it puts this massive strain on their marriage right from the get-go.
You see it simmering underneath.
Constantly.
Yeah.
The highs are really high, but the lows are devastating. It perfectly foreshadows the breakdown to come. It shows how that life promises everything, but ultimately eats away at everything real, everything stable.
That tension in his personal life is always there, isn't it? Even when they're supposedly riding high. And they do have some big successes early on. That Air France robbery, for instance, that really put them on the map, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The Air France job in '67 was huge. They snagged, what, $420,000 in cash? Back then, that was an astronomical sum. Millions in today's money.
Wow.
It wasn't just the amount, it was the boldness of it. Hitting the airport like that, it definitely boosted their standing, made them look like serious players, and, yeah, lined their pockets nicely, showed they could pull off the big ones. And through all this, Paulie Cicero, that quiet boss figure, he's still there, trying to hold on to the older ways.
And he had that one really specific rule, didn't he, that showed how careful, how old school he was. Something about phones?
That's right, his legendary rule. He never uses a telephone, ever, to avoid FBI wiretaps. Seems almost quaint now, but back then it was serious tradecraft.
Yeah.
It showed this discipline, this strict adherence to a code that was about to get seriously tested and, yeah, basically fall apart. Paulie was the old guard, a world with rules, even if they were brutal rules.
And this is exactly where you start to see the cracks appear, right? Where the whole thing starts to contradict itself. That facade of honor begins to crumble. What kicks that off?
It's a classic story, really. As Wise Guy lays out and the movie shows so well, it's when greed and ego begin to disrupt the system. That code of honor, the loyalty Henry learned early on, it starts to mean less when individual ambition and, frankly, just impulse take over.
Like with Tommy.
Perfectly shown with Tommy, that funny how scene. It's maybe the most famous example. It starts so casually, Henry's just busting chops, saying Tommy's funny.
Yeah, seems harmless.
And then the mood just shifts. Tommy gets quiet, menacing. Funny how? What's funny about it? You watching, you feel Henry's panic rising. Is he serious? Is he joking? The tension is unbearable.
Your stomach just clenches.
Right, and then turns out it's a joke. A sick joke, but a joke. It's dark humor, but man, it's a chilling reminder of Tommy's volatility, how dangerous he is. Everyone around him, Henry, Jimmy, they're constantly walking on eggshells. You never know when he's going to explode. It's this constant background hum of fear.
And that exact volatility, that lack of control, leads him to break one of the biggest rules, the one that really starts the unraveling.
Yes. In a moment of pure rage, wounded pride over some insult, Tommy kills Billy Batts. And Batts is a made man.
Which is a huge deal.
Monumental. This isn't just some random bar fight killing. It's like sacrilege in their world. Made men are supposed to be untouchable. Killing one without getting permission from the bosses, that's basically signing your own death warrant.
The ultimate sin.
It fundamentally challenges the whole structure,
Yeah.
the stability of the organization. So they have to cover it up. That whole sequence, beating him, stuffing him in the trunk, driving upstate, burying him, then having to dig him up again later.
Gruesome.
It's frantic, terrifying, and almost darkly comic in how messed up it is. But that act, covering up Bat's murder, it hangs over them. It's the first major irreversible crack. It signals that the old rules, Paulie's rules, they're starting to break down. It's the start of this self-destructive spiral.
That killing Batts, it just looms over everything that follows. It sets the stage for the final act in a way. And ironically, what comes next is their biggest score ever, the absolute peak, but it also triggers the immediate collapse, the Lufthansa heist.
Exactly. 1978, masterminded by Jimmy Conway. They steal over $6 million in cash and jewels from the Lufthansa vault at JFK. At the time, it was the biggest cash robbery in U.S. history.
Unbelievable amount of money.
Just staggering. Should have been the ultimate triumph, right? Champagne, celebrations. But no. As Wise Guy details, instead of celebration, what sets in almost immediately is this crippling paranoia. It's not subtle. It's thick, suffocating. The sheer size of the score makes everyone a target, makes everyone suspicious. The success itself becomes the poison.
And this paranoia, driven by greed and the fear of getting caught, it twists Jimmy, doesn't it? We saw him as the planner, the cool head, earlier. Now
He becomes terrifyingly ruthless in a new way. He gets consumed by suspicion. The source material highlights how he has them systematically murdered. Why? Because they start spending the money too, obviously. Buying flashy cars, furs, drawing heat.
Let's Stax Edwards with the van.
Right. Stax was supposed to ditch the getaway van. He messes up, keeps it, gets high. Jimmy has him killed. That couple who bought the pink Cadillac, gone. Anyone who seems like a potential leak, a loose end, Jimmy just eliminates them. Coldly, methodically.
Wow.
It's not even personal anymore. It's pure, desperate risk management fueled by paranoia. It shows just how fragile loyalty is in that world. If you're a liability, even by accident, you're dead. It's the mob eating itself. And while this is happening, Henry makes his own huge mistake.
The drugs.
He starts dealing drugs behind Paulie's back. Paulie explicitly forbade it. He knew it brought too much attention from law enforcement, made people unreliable. This isn't just bending a rule, it's a massive betrayal.
Directly defying his boss, the guy who brought him in.
Exactly. It isolates Henry even more. It creates another huge crack in his relationships, especially with Paulie. And it just speeds up his own downfall. He's ignoring the deadly lesson Jimmy is teaching everyone else right in front of him.
And it's not just a side business for Henry, is it? It takes over his life.
Completely. It's a disaster for him, professionally and personally. He doesn't just sell the coke, he gets hooked himself. His behavior becomes more and more erratic, desperate, reckless. And of course, the feds notice. Paulie was right about the heat. They start closing in on Henry's drug operation.
Which leads to that incredible helicopter sequence.
Oh, man. That sequence is just filmmaking genius. It perfectly captures his state of mind. The drug-fueled anxiety, the paranoia. He's juggling cooking pasta sauce, making drug deals, trying to coordinate pickups, all while convinced this helicopter is following him everywhere.
You feel his stress.
You feel his world unraveling. It's this physical manifestation of his fear, his total loss of control. And it's not just him. Karen gets pulled deeper, too. Hiding guns, hiding drugs, making deliveries for him.
She's fully complicit now.
Fully. And as the source says, this only deepens the family's descent. The life that once seemed to offer protection is now dragging everyone down. The safety net is gone. It's just constant threat, constant fear.
The whole thing is just accelerating towards disaster.
Right.
And the collapse becomes undeniable with Tommy's fate. He's supposedly getting the ultimate honor, right? He's going to be made full member, protected.
Yeah, that's the setup, the ultimate validation in their world. But it's a trap.
Payback for Billy Bats.
Exactly. The family didn't forget his killing of a made man, Bats, without permission. That debt had to be paid. So under the guise of honoring him, they execute him. Cold blood.
Brutal.
It's horrifying. A stark message. No one is above the rules, not really. Consequences always come. Tommy thought he was untouchable, especially after getting away with it for so long. He was wrong. And for Jimmy and Henry finding out, it's devastating. That illusion of invincibility completely shattered.
They realize the codes don't protect them anymore.
Not when it comes down to it. Tommy, for all his bluster and violence, was just another soldier. Expendable when he broke the ultimate rule. It's a terrifying lesson in mob logic.
And that moment, Tommy's death, it really marks the point of no return. It also seems to fundamentally change Henry's view of Jimmy, his closest partner. What happens to Jimmy then? And what finally pushes Henry over the edge?
Jimmy gets even more withdrawn, more paranoid after Tommy's gone. That bond they had, Henry and Jimmy, built over years of crime, shared risk, it just dissolves. Henry starts looking at Jimmy, this guy he trusted, his mentor.
And sees a threat.
Yeah. He becomes convinced, probably rightly, that Jimmy may try to kill him next to keep him quiet. Henry knows too much. He's seen too much. He's now a liability, a loose end in Jimmy's paranoid mind.
The ultimate betrayal.
It's the final straw. Henry's trapped. He's looking at serious prison time for the drug bust. His marriage is a wreck. And now he thinks his best friend might kill him. So he makes the choice. He cooperates with the FBI, becomes an informant. It's a total break from everything he ever knew, everything he ever wanted. But it's self-preservation over loyalty, because loyalty is clearly dead.
And the fallout is massive. He testifies against Polly, against Jimmy, basically takes down the whole crew that was once his family. In return, he gets witness protection. Him, Karen, the kids, safety, but
at what cost?
Yeah.
He's safe from the mob, sure. But his life, as he knew it, is over. And the film ends with that incredible lament. He's living this anonymous suburban life, forced to be a regular schnook.
I'm an average nobody. I get to live the rest of my life like a schnook.
That line just hit so hard, especially compared to the opening. I always wanted to be a gangster. He got his wish, lived that high life, and ended up losing absolutely everything. His power, his identity, the thrill, all gone. He traded that dangerous freedom for safety and lost himself.
Wow. What a journey. So we've traced Henry Hill's rise and fall, but beyond the incredible story, the violence, the style, what are the big takeaways? A Goodfellas is more than just a gangster flick, isn't it? What does it really tell us?
Oh, definitely. It's a deep dive into some fundamental things. For me, the big one is the illusion of glamour. The film is masterful at showing you how seductive that criminal lifestyle can be.
Absolutely. The money, the respect, the power. That Copa scene again, walking through the kitchen.
Right. It feels amazing. Effortless, like you're king of the world. But Scorsese is relentless in peeling that back. He shows you it's all a facade, a thin, shiny layer over something rotten. And it inevitably leads to paranoia, betrayal, horrific violence. The glamour isn't just fragile. It's built on something inherently destructive. It has to collapse.
And that connects to the idea of loyalty, right? That supposed code they lived by.
Exactly. The theme of loyalty versus self-preservation. That mob code of honor, omerta, brotherhood. That sounds good. But when the pressure's on, when greed and fear take over, it evaporates.
You see it again and again.
Jimmy killing his own Lufthansa crew just to cover his tracks. Henry betraying Paulie and Jimmy to save his own skin. In the end, survival trumps everything. That code, it's conditional at best, maybe just a comforting lie they told themselves. The system eats itself. And tied into that is the addiction to power.
Not just money, you mean?
Right. It wasn't just the cash, though that was part of it. Henry and Karen, they got addicted to the lifestyle, the status, the feeling of being special, untouchable, the thrill of breaking the rules, that feeling of power. That was the real drug. They couldn't quit, even when it was clearly destroying them.
And it's impossible to talk about Goodfellas without talking about Scorsese's style. It's so distinctive. How does he make it feel so immediate, so visceral.
He just puts you right in it. The dynamic camera work is key. That Copacabana shot we keep mentioning, it's famous for a reason. The camera becomes Henry, gliding through, showing you his world, making you feel that access, that power.
Yeah, you're right there with him.
Then you have things like the freeze frames, like when Tommy shoots Spider in the foot or later kills him, or when Henry's looking at the trunk after they kill Bats. Boom, the action stops. It forces you to absorb the shock, the brutality. It punctuates the violence.
Makes it hit harder.
Definitely. And the rapid editing, especially near the end, during Henry's coke-fueled paranoia, it mirrors his mental state perfectly. Frantic, disorienting. And the soundtrack. My God, the music.
Oh, yeah, the music is incredible.
It's like another character. Scorsese uses all that great rock and pop cream, the Rolling Stones, Derek and the Dominoes, not just as background noise. It sets the mood, marks the time period, comments on the action, sometimes ironically, like playing Layla during that montage of dead bodies after Lufthansa. It amplifies every high, every low.
It's just this perfect storm of content and style. No wonder it had such a huge impact. What was the critical reaction like at the time?
Massive success. Nominated for 6 Oscars. Joe Pesci won Best Supporting Actor, which was so deserved.
Unforgettable performance.
Absolutely. But beyond awards, it's consistently listed as one of the greatest films ever made. By critics, by filmmakers, by audiences. It didn't just tell a story. It redefined how gangster stories could be told. More real, more psychological, more stylishly immersive.
And its influence is huge, right? You see Goodfellas' DNA in so much that came after.
Everywhere. You absolutely see it in The Sopranos. David Chase has talked about its influence, that focus on the everyday lives, the psychological stuff alongside the violence. That comes straight from Goodfellas.
Right, making them human, almost mundane, then terrifying.
Exactly. Scorsese's own film Casino feels like a companion piece in many ways, with De Niro and Pesci again exploring similar themes in Vegas. It just shifted the whole genre away from simple good guys versus bad guys. It put you inside the life, forcing you to grapple with the allure and the ugliness at the same time. And the lines. People quote this movie constantly.
Funny how.
Funny how. Go get your fine shine box.
Haha, yeah.
And that opening, always wanted to be a gangster. They stick because they're so raw, so real to those characters, capturing the humor, the menace, the core desires of that world perfectly.
So wrapping up, it's really more than just a gangster movie.
Much more. It's a masterpiece, really. A deep character study, a cautionary tale about the American dream gone wrong, maybe. It pulls you into this thrilling, dangerous world through Henry's eyes, someone who lived it, loved it, and lost absolutely everything because of it. It forces you to look at the real human cost behind the myth.
It really is an incredible ride, from that wide-eyed kid wanting to be somebody, through the power, the money, the violence, to ending up as that average nobody, that schnook. The film just lays bare how that initial allure hides such a brutal, self-destructive reality.
And maybe that leaves you listening, with a final thought to chew on. If that pull towards power, towards status, towards feeling special, can be so strong that someone like Henry trades everything, freedom, love, himself, for just a taste of it. What does that say about the temptations in our own lives? Maybe the stakes aren't life and death for most of us. But what are our own versions of that glamour? What shortcuts tempt us? What are we willing to trade, maybe without even realizing it? And what's the real cost? Goodfellas holds up a pretty intense mirror to those kinds of choices.